Hey, Matt. Matt, Roger Brown. I'm a detective here at the sheriff's office. Okay? Okay, you want to take your hat and stuff off? Coat? All right with you? If I take them cuffs off and put them in the front, is that going to be a problem? Okay. All right, let's do that then.
On the evening of Wednesday, November 10, 2010, a manager at a Dairy Queen in the small Midwestern town of Mount Vernon, Ohio, made a call to 911.
One of my employees did not show up for work this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Which is totally uncharacteristic of her. I'm very concerned about her.
What's her name?
Her name is Tina Herman.
Tina Herman, a single mother of two, was supposed to start her shift at 4 p.m. that day. She was reliable and always arrived on time, so when she didn't show up for work without calling in, her manager became concerned. 32-year-old Tina lived with her 13-year-old daughter, Sarah Maynard, her 10-year-old son, Cody Maynard, and her boyfriend Greg, although she and Greg were separated at the time. After the 911 call, police were sent to her house for a welfare check later that night. Officers rang the bell and knocked on the door, but nobody answered. They walked around the house and saw that the lights were off. There were no signs of anything going wrong, so they left. The next day, a second person was reported missing. 41-year-old Stephanie Sprang, a mother of three, lived a few houses down from Tina, and over the past week, Stephanie had been helping Tina with her move to her new apartment. She's now the fourth person reported missing. That same day, Tina didn't show up for work for the second day in a row. Her manager knew that something must be wrong and drove down to her house. When nobody answered the door, she went around the house and gained entry through a window. That's when she made another call to 911.
I called in last night about Tina Herman being missing.
Mm-hmm.
I am out at her house now. There is blood everywhere.
Police arrived shortly after to a violent and bloody crime scene. In the home, they found 3 separate pools of blood, with drag marks all leading to the bathroom. Inside the bathroom, there was blood smeared all over the walls, tub, and the sink, but no bodies were found. Police continued the search throughout the house and found motor oil spilled on the floor near the blood, indicating that there may have been an attempt to burn down the house. Footprints left in the oil were that of a 7.5 Airwalk, the same size that 13-year-old Sarah wore. On the floor of the kitchen were grocery bags filled with food. A receipt in the bag showed that the items were purchased at 12 p.m. the day before, implying that Tina arrived home not too long before being attacked. When police made their way to the garage, they found a crucial piece of evidence, a Walmart shopping bag containing tarps. Back at the police station, investigators quickly tracked down Tina's boyfriend Greg and brought him in for questioning. They learned that Greg and Tina were in a relationship, but were currently separated and about to go their separate ways. They did, however, confirm that he had an airtight alibi. He was at work the day before and was ruled out as a suspect. Later that same day, Tina's car was found abandoned 7 miles from her house. No bodies or major clues were discovered in or near the car. Police tracked down the Walmart where the tarps were purchased. The purchase was made late Wednesday night the night before. Using the timestamp on the receipt, they found CCTV footage showing the purchaser paying for the items and walking out of the store with them. He was seen driving away in a Toyota Yaris. With this new information, investigators compiled a list of all Toyota Yarises registered in Knox County, and one person stood out at the very bottom of the first page of their search results. It was 30-year-old Matthew Hoffman. Matthew looked very much like the person they were looking for, and his driver's license photo actually showed him wearing the same shirt he had on in the CCTV footage. Matthew Hoffman was a tree trimmer in Knox County, but had lost his job earlier that year, and not too long after that, he and his girlfriend broke up. He was a recluse who spent most of his time camping out in the woods by himself and hunting small animals for food. A criminal background check revealed that he'd previously burglarized a house, burned it down to get rid of evidence, and made his escape in a stolen car. The fire spread to neighboring houses and caused millions of dollars in damages. He was later found and convicted for counts of burglary and arson and served 6 years in prison. In the early morning hours of Sunday, November 14th, Detectives obtained a search warrant for Matthew Hoffman's residence. They made forceful entry into his house and found him sleeping on his couch. There were leaves all around the house. Piles of leaves covered the floor. Bags filled with leaves were stacked up against his walls, and leaves were falling out of his closet and pantry. It was evident that Matthew had a strange obsession. As police cleared the house, they reached the basement door and moved the dresser that had been pushed up against it out of the way and proceeded down the stairs. That's when they found 13-year-old Sarah Maynard bound and gagged. Sarah was inside of a room all the way in the back of the basement, laying on a blanket over a pile of leaves. She had work gloves over her hands, which were wrapped in duct tape and bungee cords tied around her wrists and ankles. There were no signs of Tina, her son Cody, or Stephanie. Sarah was rushed to a hospital, and Matthew was taken into police custody.
Right, Mike, go ahead and stand up here for me. Alright, just have to turn around here and just face the wall for me. Okay? Go ahead and just spread your feet for me. A little bit wider. Okay.
Sign in for me, man. Talk to me a little bit. Explain, you don't want to talk to me? Okay.
Do you kind of understand what's going on here, Matt?
That's it. We can explain all this to you if you want to talk to me, okay? I think you know what we want to talk about. But we need to find some people. Matt, can you hear me?
Matt, do you go by Matt or Matthew?
We'll give you a minute, man, if you need to think a little bit. You know, other people, there's family members out there of other people, and all they want is closure. That's all they want. They've been up for days like you and I have, you know? Heart hurts. I don't understand sign language, man. Is that your heart? You're saying heart? Broken. Your heart's broken? Because of what happened? No? Someone broke your heart? I know you can talk to me, man. What do you want from us? Tell me what you want from us. You gotta talk to me. We talk to a lot of people before we come to see you, so we know you can talk.
Matthew resists talking to the police. He has his head down as if he's ashamed of his evil deeds that have just been exposed. When he tries to communicate, all that comes out is some hand signals. After a few hours of not getting any more responses from Matt, another detective is sent in to try and communicate with him. He seems to strike a chord with Matt and gets him to start talking for the first time since his arrest.
And I'm really being straight up with you. I don't know what the other guys have done, but I mean, obviously it's their job to come in here and try and, get you to talk and, tell them, what's going on. But the toughest part for me with Sarah this morning was, she keeps asking me about her mom and her brother. I told them that, we're hopeful. She said that when she talked to you about it, you would kind of not, respond, say like, well, don't ask me about that, or don't worry about that, or don't bring that up, or whatever. But I obviously from this point onward, things are going to be different, okay, for her life and for your life. I mean, I'm not trying to kid you or give you some line of bullshit. I mean, you know that. You're not stupid. I'm trying to figure out is how we can And I don't really know how easy this would be in terms of her, but how we can try and minimize some of this damage. And I think one of the ways to do that is to just be able to kind of bring this uncertainty in terms of her family to a close as soon as we can.
I can't tell you anything because I don't know.
You don't know?
I knew I must have done something wrong. And I found her in my house. She tied up. And so I took care of her. I don't really know anything else. So I was trying to figure out what had happened.
At what point did you find her tied up in your house? Thursday. Did you ask her? Did you speak with her about, what happened? How did you get here? Anything like that?
She said I'd done it. I figured I had done something I didn't know. I just could try to put pieces together.
Did you recognize her as someone that you had seen before? And, did you realize that this is a person you'd seen before that now was in your house? Or
I don't know
didn't
her.
make that connection? You don't know her? I mean, I'm just asking because they were the pictures in the camera and they weren't taken, at the time that this happened. So I was just wondering if you, in other words, if it was someone you knew and then, wow, how did you get here in my house? Do you remember her asking you about what happened to her mom and her brother? Because she said that she asked you a couple times. Do you remember that?
I don't want to talk anymore.
Matthew claims that he has no recollection of committing any crimes. He says that he just woke up the day after the victims went missing, found Sarah tied up in his house, and took care of her. This was not true. Matthew was booked into jail. He was fingerprinted, changed into a jumpsuit, and kept in a cell until police were able to send in a female investigator with a different approach.
All right, just have a seat right in here. Just have a seat.
Hi, Matt. Hi, my name's Chris. I wanted to talk to you for a second if I could. Just gonna close the door. Yep.
Yes, too.
Okay. Do you want me to take the cuffs off so you can actually put this on? Or you just want to put it around you? Do you want the pants? No, these are, no? Okay. Well, they're here if you do, okay? Sorry. Where's the sadness coming from?
I think I'm crazy.
Why do you think that?
Because I must have done something bad. I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Well, that can be worked through.
I'm afraid to even know what it was I did.
Matthew continues to try and manipulate investigators into believing that he has no idea what happened. Detective Chris continues to comfort him and play to his ego.
I don't think you're crazy. Just this small amount of time that I've spent with you right now. wholeheartedly tell you that their peace of mind will truly come from knowing where their family is more than you being here.
I agree that closure is good. I can't give it to him. I don't. I want to know what happened. But I'm afraid to know what happened. I've heard enough details.
The only thing detectives need at this point is to locate the remaining victims' bodies so that Matthew can stand trial. However, Matthew still isn't talking. Detective Chris decides not to push too hard, and Matthew is brought back to his cell where he's kept overnight. At 9:35 the next morning, investigators bring Matthew back to the interrogation room to try and get him to tell them where the other victims are.
So I had a really horrific dream last night. I saw some really disgusting stuff in a big garbage can. I was hoping I could make up some excuse for you guys to kill me.
Police continue to press Matthew as he continues to push his story.
So the idea that you just don't know, that just doesn't work anymore. You've got to know enough to be able to make this decision to do some positive good here. And I just can't understand if you're to the point where you want us to kill you, you want us to be a party to some scheme to end your life, why you would hold back? Why not just say, okay, whatever happens, here it is. The end of it, stop the searching, stop the hunting, stop the package, here it is. There they are. Are you happy? You got what you wanted. It's your decision, but why not make it? Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I just don't believe that you don't have it.
2 hours into his final interrogation, and after 12 hours of speaking with Matthew since he was arrested, the Knox County Prosecutor's Office orders Matthew Hoffman to speak to a public defender so he can be arraigned. The interview is now over. Matthew and his attorney reach a deal with the prosecutor. Matthew tells police where the remaining victims' bodies are, in addition to providing details of the crime. And in return, prosecutors will not seek the death penalty in his trial. In a detailed 10-page letter, Matthew reveals that he placed the bodies of the 3 remaining victims in a hollowed-out tree in the woods. He climbed up into a tree with bags containing the victims' remains and dropped them down its hollow trunk. The tree was so thick that when dogs were brought to the area, they couldn't pick up a scent, and police had to climb up surrounding trees to locate the one with the remains. Matthew's 10-page letter also revealed that he identified the home the day before he broke into it, camped in the woods across the street, and waited for the family to leave the next day. As Tina left the next morning, Matt claims that he thought she'd be gone for work all day and broke into her house to burglarize it. Tina, however, had just gone to pick up some groceries and returned home shortly after. Matt claims that when Tina came home with her groceries, she walked in on him, causing him to panic, and he attacked her. He details how he processed the victims' bodies in the tub so that he could transport and hide them. Matthew Hoffman was convicted on 3 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole and currently resides in Toledo Correctional Institution as inmate A645571.